to my walkthrough of my AWS journal for spring 2022. So, for the first week, or when I first saw that I was in this AWS course, I was kind of surprised because I had signed up for my IT practicum. But after thinking about it a little bit and I messaged my advisor, I realized that this was a really great opportunity to learn something that is very important today. So I was really excited once I realized that, and, and I thought that this was just a great opportunity. So for the second week, I learned about AWS billing. It seems pretty simple at first, but now that I'm at the end of the semester and I've talked with some people more about AWS, I've realized that there are so many services for AWS, and that a lot of companies, when they're moving over to AWS or just doing anything in AWS, they hire people specifically to figure out how much it's going to cost them, because of how the AWS interacts, how all these services are interacting, how much they're pooling and stuff. They hire people specifically to figure out how much it's going to cost them, which I thought was really interesting and kind of crazy, because AWS has its own billing calculator, but it seems like a lot of people aren't too terribly fond of it. So in week 3, I learned about the global infrastructure of AWS. It's spread worldwide and is pretty basic. It's very basic to understand. Very simple stuff. Um, and so for week 4, I learned about IAM, or Identity and Access Management. And this was not new information to me. I had covered access management in my information security class. And I know a little bit about Active Directory, and that seemed similar to this. Um, so it was very interesting to see it in an actual live environment, and how it's used, creating roles with rules and applying those to users. So here we have some roles. We have EC2 support and S3 support and EC2 admin, and we have an instance summary for the EC2. And yeah, so that was really interesting to do. And then for week 5, I got to work with Amazon Virtual Private Cloud, VPC, and I launched a web server using an EC2 instance. I created 2 public subnets and 2 private subnets, and I had a little bit of trouble. The first time I didn't configure my EC2 instance properly, and so I didn't have a public DNS address, so I had to reconfigure that, but it was pretty simple once I realized my mistake, and taught me to really pay attention to that kind of thing. Little things can really throw you off, because I was really confused for a while. And here we have my my EC2 instance. Current CPU load 0%. And for week 6, I learned about Amazon EC2 more in depth, AWS Lambda, AWS Elastic Beanstalk, and I did Lab 3, which had me set up an Amazon EC2 instance. And here it is. Hello from your web server. It's running. Alrighty. And these are just more screenshots from the lab. There's some statistics from it. And this is Elastic Beanstalk that I had set up as well. With I think that was for the lab as well. Yeah. And so for week 7, I learned about Amazon's cloud-based storage, so AWS EBS, AWS S3, AWS EFS, and AWS S3 Glacier. And so I completed Lab 4, which I created an AWS EBS volume and attached it to my EC2 instance. So that gave it a more concrete, hard drive, to say to simple terms, a more concrete hard drive, more concrete storage. And I created a snapshot and restored it, restored a file that I deleted on purpose for testing purposes. So this is attaching it. And this was, I think, yeah, this was deleting it and then restoring it as well. So that was the restored file there. And then I learned about databases in AWS, and I created a database using AWS RDS and connected it to a web server, so then I could display the information in that database. And I created a security group that allowed my web server to access my RDS database which was really cool to use. We came back to using those IAMs again, and making security groups. And here's my lab database with the statistics for it, showing it's running and all of its information. And here's a screenshot of it hosted on the web server and the lab gave me some code to run it. I didn't make this code myself. The lab gave me code to run it, and it had functionality to add and remove data. So there's mine, Michael McDonald, and some information. And then I created a S3 bucket that hosts a static website. Um, this was easy. This was fairly simple, especially after all the stuff I've done throughout the rest of the semester. But it was still fun. It was good to do. And then we talked about cloud architecture. And then I learned more in depth about auto-scaling and monitoring. They talk a lot about auto-scaling, but this was the first time, one of the first times I really got to use it. And so I completed Lab 6, which was about EC2 auto-scaling, and that was really fun. And I had to create an AMI image so that my web server could scale in and out automatically, and a load balancer so incoming traffic would be spread evenly across my instances. And then I created a launch configuration along with my auto-scaling group. And so that's where I used my AMI image. I put it into the launch configuration so that every server that was launched with that launch configuration would have that same image that's for my original EC2 instance. I verified my servers were working, and I tested the scalability, which was all built in. And yeah, so I could see my Amazon Cloud Watch, and I could watch the usage go from 0 to 100% as it stress tested it, and the more servers were added like it was supposed to. So that was awesome. Just some screenshots of the statistics and everything running. And so, in conclusion, I was basically what I said before. I was kind of surprised when I first saw I was in this course, and then I was like, then I realized that this was a great opportunity to learn something, and I think my future path or my goal for my career is to really go into cloud architect and be a cloud operator. I think it's really interesting, and it was a lot of fun. So thank you for this course, and thank you for watching.